Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode. It's been about a month, but now we are back. Episode 200 gone by, the live show. I miss it so much, but episode 201 is here, and there are more conversations to be had on the Master Random podcast. So I hope you stick around for another 200 episodes, or 100 episodes, or 500 episodes. Be amazing if we get that far. I hope you do stick around and listen to the journey of the podcast. Before I get to my next guest on the show, I want to give thanks to our sponsors, Budweiser. They were the official sponsor of episode 200 and continuing their sponsorship along these consecutive episodes that are about to come out. Budweiser is an American-style lager that has been distributed by Ambrose since 1949. Did you know that the first shipment of Budweiser to Guam was 500 cases and sold out in 2 days? I think at the FD alumni tournament, we drink about 100, over 100 kegs of Budweiser and Bud Light in 3 weeks. So a big jump that we've made over the years. And after that 1,500 cases, after that 500 cases were delivered, 1,500 more cases were delivered to Guam. And following that, Ambrose became the sole distributor of Budweiser to the island. And they continue to be the top selling beer on the island and in this Pacific region to this very day. I've been drinking it since I was young, and it's been a part of culture to drink alcohol. When you're on a small island, there's really nothing else to do, is there? And why not go with the nice, cold, refreshing Budweiser? And when you do, enjoy responsibly and drink wiser. This episode is also brought to you by our newest sponsor of the podcast, Payless One. They are your one stop for organic and natural products and education. They have this thing called the Edu Kitchen, where you can actually attend classes to learn how to eat healthier, add nutrition to your lifestyle, and also add it to your kids' lifestyle. There's a variety of classes and ways you could educate yourself on how to include organic into you and your life. Into you. They are located next to the Dedido Payless. Payless One is your dedicated destination for organic food, home, health, and beauty products. If you ever go into Payless and you find yourself confused on where to find organic goods and what's organic and what's not organic, and you just get lost and ending up getting the bad stuff that you usually get, Payless One takes everything and puts it into one store for your convenience, so you don't have to go searching for how to eat healthier. Everything there is handpicked and chosen for you by Payless One's registered dietitian and my good friend Rose Calvo. She's extremely smart and is able to help you and provide for you the best plan on how to include health and nutrition into your life, because it's honestly not that much of a common thing. So if you need that sort of push or advice, search for her in the Payless One store, and she can help you shop, learn, and stay healthy at Payless One. They're open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. daily next to the Dedido Payless. Before I go on to my guest, I want to just give a special thanks and mention to the sponsors of episode 200, the live show. One of the greatest things I've ever done with this podcast and possibly in my life. Big shout outs to these people because they promote and support independent podcasts and people who are trying to make it in the digital creative world. It's a tough world out there, everybody. So shout out to Addis Mortuary, AM Insurance, Dimension Systems, 6 a.m. Group. They bring you EIF. Yeah, they bring you the Electric Island Festival, EIF, Ladrone Creative, and the venue. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And now my next guest on the show, one of my good friends. He is JoeGuam, extremely talented musician. And if you didn't know, he's also an engineer. So we just click like that. As soon as we start talking, we love to talk to each other, and we just love to talk in general. And he has a plethora of knowledge in music and experiences and PM work. So if you're looking for different stuff on how to improve your life, he does. He can give you that advice, but also your business. Oh my goodness, I'm screwing this up for you, Joe. If you're looking to improve your business, he actually gives coaching advice on project management. So hit him up or listen to this podcast to figure out how you can hit him up. But I'm excited for you to hear it because 201 episodes, we're on our way to 300. It's going to take a bit, but we're still on our way, taking it step by step, episode by episode, and enjoy this conversation with my friend, JoeGuam. Oh, and if you're digging this new episode music, my brother David Dior put this together for me for the podcast. So thank you to him for the new Master Random episode music. Dig it.
Oh, right on, yeah. Shoot, let's roll.
We're good. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
We've been rapping for about 30 minutes, trying to troubleshoot, and we got into the PM stuff. You being a PM out there, how you transferred from being an engineer to doing PM work, and I agree with you, man. It's for me as a PM, I've learned that creating a relationship with the person you're working with directly is the most important thing.
It's very important.
Yeah, I mean, whether it's over email, but definitely over telephone, because a lot of the people I work with are off island. So just to hear the voice, and sometimes you don't even meet the person.
No, yeah,
for like
it's
years.
Crazy. Yeah, you're like, oh, that's what you look like.
yeah. Finally, I get to put the voice to the face, or face to the voice. So, but you were mentioning about. Gosh, what were you going with?
So you're right. You know, like I use that analogy sometimes in the project management world where you could build a perfect house,
right?
But let's say you built a perfect house and the person who buys it, I mean, this is hypothetically speaking, right? The person who buys it's in a wheelchair and you built steps in the front door. Like that's a perfect house, but it's not perfect for the person, right? So the whole goal in the engineering world, and you're an engineer, so you know this, the whole goal is to make a perfect house for the person. That's a perfect house. That's how you define a perfect house. It's a house that is perfect for the person, not just any perfect house.
Right.
So that was kind of like one of the things. And I moved into coaching because I had already been developing and kind of teaching project management and delivery management already, and I had already built up a couple of people, just showing them and developing their skill set in it. But I realized to myself that the only people who I was developing were the people who I brought along. So what does that? I mean, that sounds kind of weird, right? It's like, okay, so let's say I come into your company, you ask me to deliver a project, and I deliver the project, and I bring one of my resources with me. The only people who are going to learn project management during that project is the people I brought with me.
Right.
And when I leave, I don't leave anything for you to develop yourself or leave anything for you to return your investment. You do get the return of investment on the project that I delivered for you, but that's it. That's the end of it. So it was a project that I had where I was like, I'm never doing that again. I am going to bring in somebody, whoever I need to bring in, but I'm going to make sure that I also develop somebody who's there in that team or office. So when I leave, they can now service themselves and coach themselves.
Right. The machine is still working when you take out your cog.
Right. And there's a continuous return of investment. You kind of look at that, the teach a man to fish type of thing, right? Feed him, give him fish, and then feed him for a day, teach a man to fish, feed him. That's kind of the whole concept of the strategic coaching. So it's funny because like I was just talking to a friend and I was like, and they said, what are you doing tomorrow? I was like, oh, I'm coaching tomorrow. I'm like, what are you coaching? And I was like, oh, I'm a strategic coach. I coach in project management, delivery management. And they're like, what? You play the ukulele? Like, how do you know that? I mean, there was even a CEO of a company.
Oh shit, dude! People still think I do podcasts for a living.
For a living.
It's like, yeah, no, dude, it's not a lucrative job.
It's like he's a
to have.
Yeah. I mean, there was a CEO that I got hired to play for a company, for a company event, and the CEO, he came up to me because the HR director was like talking to me about project management, possibly getting some coaching. Right? He's like, we need your help, right? And the CEO was like, I can't believe we're talking to the ukulele player about coaching. Right? And I was like, yeah, that's kind of the tail of my tape, right? So
yeah, actually, I got to go back on.
and sometimes my wife like says like, do you have the right shirt on? You know, it's kind of a funny thing because like I'm walking out the door and I'm like, where am I going? Oh yeah, I have the right shirt because I have to put on the coaching shirt, you know, and then I'm on my way to a gig. So I wear the gig shirt underneath it. Like if I'm playing at Pika's or wherever, I wear the shirt underneath it. And then when I'm done coaching, I take off the coaching shirt and I'm like, it's like Superman with his, you know, multiple.
Right.
Yeah. But you know what? I love it.
Booth.
Music is primary though. Music. I mean, there's no doubt on that, especially when I go whenever I engage with the customers.
Right.
I always tell them like music is primary.
I'm just going to adjust this real quick.
No worries. And I told them like, you know, they approached me and it's kind of cool because like one of the first things I told them when they approached me to help coach project management is I say, you know, we have to start this conversation with the fact that I have nothing to sell you. And they look at me and I'm like, now that we've got the sales pitch out of the way, like you guys came to me for help. I have nothing to sell you. I didn't come here with a product. I didn't come here with content. Anything.
Has this been all word of mouth for you?
Yeah. I actually cannot advertise. And someone actually...
Why is that?
Because I don't have bandwidth. There is zero bandwidth for me to advertise. I could not take on another customer whether it's...
I see.
Zero bandwidth. Like
right.
Music is my priority and any extra time I have is for music production. That's where we focus, right? You know, if God takes me in a different direction, if for some reason I can't play music, if I get injured or something like that, then we'll talk about that. That's a different story.
Right.
But for right now, music is our priority. So I don't have any bandwidth. As a matter of fact, someone asked me to be a guest speaker and talk about project management and delivery management for a conference in November. Mm-hmm. And they were like, you know, I'm sorry, we don't pay our presenters. I was like, but you can show your talent and you can plug your company. And I was like, well, sorry to let you know this, but I actually can't show my talent. I can't plug my company because like, have you ever heard of the notion, like if you advertise and you can't actually fulfill your advertisements, like that's actually a negative.
Right. Yeah,
so I don't want to do that. I don't want to come out and be like, hey, everybody, I can do this. And then like 10 people are calling, we need help. And you're like, I can't do it. It's like, then that makes them mad. It makes people mad. It's like, so I don't advertise. And that's a blessing. By the way, I need to declare that. Like that's not.
Absolutely, man. I mean, to be able to be skillful and hold an expertise in such a thing as project management, man, it's, and to not need to advertise it, to focus on music,
man,
it's
super blessing. And it even more of a blessing is the opportunity to help somebody and develop somebody and to see the look on their face when they actually get it, when they get the concepts. And then they apply the concepts, man, I get like super giddy. I mean, I kind of keep that in, but I'm like, nah, that's the greatest thing, you know? I feel like it's a win.
You see the light bulb go ding.
Right. And it's not anything selfish. It's more that when I was struggling and I had someone show me and I figured it out, I was like, oh my God, this is going to help me for the rest of my life. And to know that excitement's there. And when they figure it out, I'm like, they have no idea, but that's going to help them for the rest of their life.
Is that something you see a lot of businesses here on Guam, like needing?
Oh, man, it's like the buzz now.
Really?
It's the buzz. I mean, I landed on Guam in 2011 and I tried to get a job and I interviewed a ton of places and I didn't get any jobs. And there was like one place that I found a job. And when they interviewed me for that job, they were interviewing for a project manager, but they didn't really even know what they needed.
Out of the project manager?
Well,
out of the position?
Because what they needed actually was someone to develop a project management methodology and actually be an enterprise project manager, which is way higher than just a project manager, right? So yeah, they needed something a little different. And I mean, that just shows like the the infancy of project management on Guam as a whole. Usually
Everyone's just starting a business and going for broke.
right. I mean, doing the best they can,
Yeah.
right? There isn't really like a guidance or a standard, right? In the States, if you try to engage with a company and you don't have project management knowledge, the first thing they say, that raises a flag for them. They're like, well, now we're going to have an inefficiency on your side because you don't have project management knowledge. I think we're going to go with the company that has it. But here in Guam, that's not the case. I mean, we do the best we can. So it's now our turn to kind of learn that. Right. And people are developing that. But the only place you really find project management in its actual capability and proficiency on Guam most of the time is going to be in the construction side. And a lot of the times it's going to be imported skill sets.
Right.
So a big, large company has a contract here and they fly the project manager in.
Right.
Or the military fly the project manager in. So the goal now is I have this supervision. I'm just going to throw it out to the world. Nobody knows this but my wife. So here it is, the universe. I have a vision that in 10 years, I want to create a community of practice that's Guam wide, that where people can meet with no agenda. Like you can't be allowed to bring your agenda. So there will be no sponsors. It's not about money. It's literally a community of practice where people can come and share lessons learned and help each other in delivery. But I emphasize that for that to work, you cannot bring your agenda. Can you imagine if I was a company A and you're company B and we come to this community of practice, talk about project management, and I'm coming trying to push my business on you?
Right.
You'd be like, get out of here.
Yeah.
So I didn't come here to,
I'm not coming back to this shit.
yeah, right?
Yeah.
So that's like the whole point. And so I hope in 10 years from now that
I think it's closer than that. I mean,
Crossing
maybe even I've discussed with different people about starting a think tank, right?
oh yeah.
Something that everybody can get together, and whether it be at a bar or whether it be at someone's house or something, and you come together and you have a focus for that day, right? Or that evening, someone would present something of their expertise or background, and then you network,
Right.
and you just figure out, how you can help each other,
Yeah.
in a sense, but not project management specific, but
you're right,
yeah, I mean, it's still along the same lines. Yeah.
Same concept, yeah. And really, like on the project management side, it's more like, okay, let's say a company wins a contract and they're working with the military, and they've never done it before. So they come in and they're networking and they find someone who just finished a contract with the military. And if they can share their lessons learned, man, that gives Guam a step up in everything. You know what I mean? I mean, sharing your lessons learned, it's never gonna let another person get an edge on you. That's something that's cool about project management. It's like project managers are always peers, no matter what level you are. And if you help other project managers, it will come back to you tenfold.
For sure.
So that's kind of like the goal. Like if we get an understanding of the proficiency, the skill set, the capability, enough Guam wide where people start investing in it. And then we have this community of practice where people just come and share wins. That's really kind of what it is, right? Whether they're small or big wins, people can benefit from that. Then it becomes this, it's a mindset now. And I'll give you a cool thing. So we just finished a project in June. It was a really great project. Thankfully to the team who really worked hard on it, it was successful in a scale of definition of success. I'd say it was successful. And then another project comes up, and immediately, like the executive over the second project is like, oh, I need so-and-so. I need the project manager from that one. Like before that project and actually developing a structure, people didn't think that way. But now it's like, oh, we have this project we have to do. I need the structure, please. And it's like, okay, well, now you have to develop one that's in your side.
Yeah.
So now the goal is to develop other people. So that's kind of where I sit. And that's why I call them BPRP episodes, which stands for best practice, real practice. And the notion there is like, yeah, we always want to do the best practice. That's always the case, right? But sometimes best practice is not possible. Like if you don't have the money, number one, right? If you don't have the skill sets just not available, what are you going to do, right?
Right.
So what do? There's a real practice that there's always a real practice that you can reach out to that can kind of help you. And so that's my goal right now. It's like, because right now businesses, especially small businesses on Guam, who need like project management delivery, dude, they don't have the means to always do the best practice. Right. Like some people are just like,
it's like, this is what we got.
Yeah.
And we're just going to push this.
Right. So you have to find a way to actually make it real and literally in the real world and then deliver despite all of that. Your delivery is not going to be the greatest or the best, but you know what? As long as you understand what it's going to deliver for you, you can make progress. That's kind of the whole key. So,
yeah.
Anyways, that's a little geeking out on project management. Sorry, I know engineer side of us, right? We're working, so I hope that's
man. That's my life right now. I mean, that's what I spend all my daytime. Just doing that and trying to find efficiency and create efficiency in processes. Because I mean, even where I work, it's even though a process is created, the turnover rate becomes a problem because this person didn't know that this process was like this when they left. And it's like, oh man, all right, we got to explain this. I think we need to put this in a memorandum.
Sometimes those are only learned the hard way, like you described, right? So man, that's unfortunate. But yeah, hopefully it comes around. I mean, I have a genuine passion to help Guam and help others. So really I turned like the skill set that I knew and I just connected it to my passion. And and people are like, why are you doing these videos? Why are you doing these project management videos? And I'm like, because I got a lot of requests for them. Like a lot of people are like, hey, can you do something? So I was like, yeah, I'll do something. So
and the thing about it is like, it's not only people here that would need it. It's people all over the world.
Right. I never even thought of that. In my mind, I just think
it's on the internet.
You're right, man. I didn't even think about that. Shoot. So, I mean, it kind of ties in. If you think about the name Progressu Strategic Coaching, right? That's not a plug. I'm literally just talking about the name.
You can plug it.
So Progressu is Chamorro word, and it stands for, nice. Don't worry, we're not peeing. So yeah, but the word Progressu actually stands for like, to move forward, to progress, to advance, to improve, right? And if you think about Rise of the Tide, that's kind of the same notion.
For sure.
So my mindset and passion for music and helping others who want to learn music and helping others who want to learn project management, I kind of just connected the dots.
Yeah, correlated.
Right. And when I do those episodes, I don't do them for views. I don't do them for likes or share. That doesn't bother, I don't care about that. Those episodes are not what that's for. I don't make a living off of those episodes, not like some, YouTubers, which props to them because it's hard to make a living as a YouTuber, right? So props to them. So I don't do that. I do it literally for, the 10 people that are going to watch it and go, dang, this is really going to help me,
Yeah, man. And as I was mentioning earlier, when we were talking about this, we're archiving everything that we're doing now, how we're thinking now. And it's something that we've never been able to do
before
on this level before, right? And
only the people who wrote,
right. And how many secretaries were there? It's like
it wasn't a lot. Yeah, so it's kind of cool that we have this ability to do that, man. But yeah, the documentation is really a cool form of that, man. Again, going back to the passion, like I just have that passion. It's a genuine passion within to help others, and I'm like, I just hope that it does help others. You know what I mean?
Yeah. If it's not today, that's the thing about digital stuff. It's the grass is always green and it'll always remain green. You don't even have to water it.
Yeah.
People just have to be like project management.
And boom, it comes up.
Guam music. And it's
Guam
like,
project management. Right. Boom, pops up. And so I hope that helps. I've gotten some folks who ask me, some questions about it from it. And as long as it starts the conversation, that's really a success in itself already.
For sure.
I mean, considering like the engineering side of what you do, just imagine if you go to work with a company and they're like, okay, great. So here are the deliverables that we need to incorporate into the major plan. And here are milestone dates that we've actually set forth. We have a project manager that we set as the point of contact. So we'd be working with them to understand the organizational readiness between your company and mine. Like, if that's how the conversation starts, I'd be like, oh my God, this is going to be the best project ever. You know what I mean?
They know what they're talking about.
Right. But if you have a conversation that starts with like, oh yeah, man, let's do this.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, so how are we going to do this? Oh wait, I'll just have my people call your people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, that's worked in the past.
Brim, that's why I brought you. That's why you're here. How do we do this?
Right? Yeah. That's kind of how it works, right? So, I mean, you asked me, and I'll just bring it up. You asked me why I stopped the WhatsApp notification. So for everyone listening, I started those BPRP episodes, and I started sending just a little message with a link to the people who I felt were going to be interested. So after a couple of weeks, a couple of episodes, I think I did like 4 episodes, 3 episodes, something like that. I just felt like no one opted in for that. And
like it was by force.
Right. And so I was like, I didn't want to be that guy. But if you understand what my intentions were for starting that broadcast list, it was, I added the people who I felt knew me, knew what I do, what I did, what I do, what my skill set was, and who could benefit from them. But then again, even with that genuine, mindset of trying to help people, I was like, no one opted in for that. So I was like, here are options to opt in. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can, turn on notifications for Instagram. You can sign up to the email list. Like, opt in if you want it. And if you don't, I promise I won't bother you. So it was more like respect.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
I mean, people still bombard us with memes and videos we don't want.
Right. But I still felt like it was more of a respect thing. So, I see. And I don't do them for the views and all that kind of stuff. So it's more of help you. So I felt like, it doesn't align. So I stopped doing WhatsApp.
Right. And earlier we were touching on production, and having a background in project management really helps in the development of like our own production, the production of our stuff. I was talking about episode 200 and how just producing that was.
By the way, congratulations! Holy moly, that is,
and you are 201.
Yeah. Oh man, that's amazing. Everyone listening, like 200 episodes. That is an accomplishment. So
thank you, dude.
Congratulations to you guys, all the team.
No idea how the fuck it's come this far. 4 years later, and Matt's been here almost 2 years, and it's like,
what's up, Matt? Shout out, man. The man behind the plan.
The man of few words. I'm here. And it's and developing that live show. Can I go into a little background of how I did?
Dude, as a matter of fact, I feel like that's what everybody wants to hear. Because not everybody had the opportunity and privilege to experience it, right? I was very experienced, so thank you for inviting me. And I tried to post as much, and people were like, "Headphones at the venue? What?" So please talk about it, please. In the beginning of this year, I knew I was going to hit 200. Right, I knew it was coming. And I wanted to do something. Because I didn't do something for 100. And I was dabbling with the idea of using headphones and letting people wear headphones. And it wasn't until about February, I got in contact with the manufacturer. April, the product was here, right? The test product.
All of 50 headphones.
Oh, all of them. Holy moly.
50 headphones were here. And then we started developing the show. Like, okay, how are we going to make this cool? How are we going to make this? And we're throwing stuff around, throwing ideas around. And just the fact that it came together the way it did without any formal backing or any corporate, like somebody saying you need to do this,
executive producer,
right? Executive, some executive person saying this is how you got to do this, and we're sort of making it up as we went along, and being able to output it the day of was the most amazing thing. Like,
congratulations.
For me, and I might do a live show again, but it's like I won't do it at that extreme.
I will tell you though, as an audience member, it didn't seem like there were hiccups. Okay, so it was clean, it was smooth, and we were talking about this offline. People don't understand the work that it takes to get it to the point where it's clean and smooth. But you guys said you guys almost had a huge hiccup, right?
Oh yeah,
right. Like 1 minute before.
1 minute before the actual show started, and like the week before, and 3 weeks before that, and a month before that. So I had 50 headphones come in, and we started inviting people. We're like, oh shit, well we can't invite everybody, right? It's like we know a good amount of people, and it's more than 50 combined, right? And we decided to order another 50 headphones. But it wasn't going to come in till the week before the show.
Oh, man. That's always a nail biter. Yeah. Oh, I can't stand that.
Yeah. And so I'm like, with calling the manufacturer, I'm like, I'm like, so when is this thing gonna come in? We're like, you're behind an order of 10,000. I was like, well, you can't throw in like my 50 in front of that, or like a part of that 10,000. Like, oh, it's different frequencies, and we have to set the machines and blah blah blah. I was like, oh fuck, I don't know. And so we were like getting ready to uninvite people.
Oh, that's why those messages are coming out. Like, hey, make sure you are.
Yeah.
Oh,
like,
I saw it.
Can you let us know if you're not coming? So
now that makes so much sense.
Yeah, man, and it was nail biter all the way to the very end, and I've never done, and as I mentioned earlier, it's not common for the act to produce the show.
Right.
It's usually the production. They fly in the act does their shit or performs their stand up or whatever it is, and that's it.
Right. I feel like here on Guam, we talked about this offline too. I feel like here on Guam, that's kind of a lot of the times what we have to do.
Right.
Like where the act has to produce.
Right. Even for you with On Live, right?
I mean, same thing with On Live, with the Manila show that did every self-production that I've had to do. I mean, literally had to do, because in terms of like paying myself and just making a living, right? So every self-production, there is the work that goes into it. And just to share with people what that work is, and you can chime in here, you have to do the creative work first, right? So once you solidify your creative work, which is we want to engage with customers, we engage with the audience through an experience that they've never done before on podcasting, a live experience, but it's kind of private because it's headphones on it. So you have to do the creative side.
But even for you, it was having an audience, but online,
right? Live, right? Basically, bringing, so same kind of. It's like doing the creative production and creative
conceptualizing.
Right. Then there's the technical side. You have to do the technical proofing.
Yeah.
And then after the technical proofing,
is this shit even possible?
Right. Then after the technical proofing, there's the funding.
Right.
And you're like, okay, this is going to take how many hours? And do we even have the ability to just get some sort of funding for it, whether it's equipment, and you had to buy 50 plus 50 headphones, right? 100 headphones, and even just time invested, right? And the people you have to call to help you do it, maybe they're the skill set. So then there's the funding. And then after that, there's the actual validation, which is like testing it, making sure it does work. Like you conceptually proofed it out, but what happens when you put 100 headphones in a room and you turn them all on, and knowing if there's a frequency,
fucking blasting right through it.
Right.
It's picking up some radio station that we didn't know about.
Oh my God. You know what I mean? So you have no idea if those come through. So there is a ton of work and preparation that goes into that. So to have an event come out like yours, which was, again, like at first we were all like, so are we supposed to talk to people or have the headphones on? We didn't know. But then once the show started, everybody knew. Right. I mean, not only were we engaged, and I was paying attention from a production side. I was paying attention. A lot of people were paying attention from the creative side, right? Just listening to what you guys were saying. But me from the back, I'm like listening, and I'm watching the headphones. I'm watching the interaction of the audience. I'm watching the interaction and engagement from you guys and to each other, and then you guys from the audience, right? I'm looking at all the other DJs. I'm looking at the production side. I'm looking at everything that's production, right? That's what we do. Whenever people clapped, that to me showed 100% engagement, dude. Like, you made a joke and people laughed. I'm like, everybody is in this. Because if you made a joke and nobody laughed, I mean, it was worthless. It was useless.
Yeah. Why even be up there?
But everybody laughed. Everybody clapped. I'm like, and my wife's texting me from home. She, God bless her, honey. Thank you for watching the kids. The baby was just born. Yeah. Right. Thank you for watching the kids so I could go to that. So she was texting me, how's it? I'm like, look at my IG stories. I was like, this is like never before. Like everybody is, like, venue's so quiet. Everybody was engaged. I mean, you guys did a really good job. And again, that goes back to, and I say this, that goes back to the preparation and the production.
For sure.
When we had On Live go out the very first time, I had done 3 run-throughs already by myself. Then we did another run-through with my wife as director on set and Ryan Bustamante, who did our video and our lighting, right? Then we did it with them. Then we went live with it. And the entire way, it was like nerve-wracking. And it got to a point where I played my second song and I was like, I need to just let go of the production worries and play this music because these people are all watching. We had so many views, and I was like, there's really people signing up for this. And I was like, oh my God, and I remember the first show, there was a family in Washington that invited their families over to their house to have a barbecue just to watch the show on their big screen TV.
Really?
I swear. And they sent me a picture, and like everybody's in the house, and I'm like, what? I just did a concert for a Guam family. I mean, granted, there was only like maybe 30
You're giving
people.
me chills, man.
Dude.
Yeah.
I mean, I got chills from doing it. And, you know, granted, it was only 30 people. I did a concert for 30 people in the living room. Literally, they were putting in requests.
From your living room.
From my studio. Right? I mean,
Yeah.
where I got it. And then from the first one, someone messaged me and said, I haven't been home in 18 years. And we did our first one in February. And she's like, I just booked a flight home in August. And I was like, she's like, thank you for bringing me home. And I replied back and I said, and I knew what song, she had told me what song was her favorite song. It was Tristy Zoo by Frank Bogle, her dad's favorite song, right? Before he passed away. And I replied back and I said, I appreciate the comments, but I didn't bring you home. I was like, that song brought you home. So you can thank Bokongo, because I could have played like Sunday Morning from Maroon 5 and that wouldn't have brought her home.
Right.
But the fact that I played Tristy Zoo, right? And I was just a conduit.
Right.
So I was like, welcome home. You know, I was like, your family's going to love to see you, you know? So I thought that was pretty amazing. That was proud. And I looked at my wife and I go, I don't care about the views. I was like, look at this. And then the second on live, we had someone from Afghanistan. He's like, watching this from Afghanistan, Chelu. And I was like, oh, I look at show my wife. I was like, I got goosebumps, man. Seriously. I mean, it's those profound things that happen. You
For
know?
sure, man. And, you know, there's so many people who have ties or roots, whether they're Chamorro or not, they have roots here on Guam. And there's a weird disconnect that I've noticed when I go out, you know, to the States, and all they hear are the bad news that's viral on the internet, you know, getting the most views. And it's not really what people are doing here, right? Yeah. And so it's almost like, how do we bridge that gap to using creative arts to, whether it be conversation, whether it be videos, YouTube videos of ourselves documenting our daily lives, music, art, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Across the spectrum.
Man, that's a tough topic. I mean, in general, it's a tough topic. I remember you once saying on a podcast, and just to throw it out, my first podcast, Master Random podcast that I've listened to was the 3 DJs. So Jojo Camacho,
Yeah.
Ronnie Perez, and
DJ Pogi.
Pogi.
Right.
Pogi. I was like, I know there's an OG in there. I was like, what is the name of Pogi? But he's not on island anymore, right?
No.
He's gonna say, yeah, so
Right.
Pogi, right? And I remember listening to it, and my wife was like, what are you listening to? I was like, oh, it's this Boo Addis podcast. And I didn't say Master Random. We didn't know it as Master Random then, right? Master Random to us wasn't a thing yet. We were all like, what kind of name is that, right? We're like, this is Boo Addis podcast. Right? You know my wife, you know the whole U of A thing, right? I'll give you guys your shout out. U of A.
I almost wear my Arizona shirt.
I almost wore my Sun Devil hat too. And I was like, nah, I don't want to be forceful like that. It's all good. We already know there's respect there. You know, there's respect there. But so yeah, I watched that episode. She's like, why are you listening to that? And I go, you know why? Because they're talking about a grind that's relevant to me, relevant to us. I was like, the DJs, they have the same kind of grind that we do, right? So I was like, man, that's so interesting. So I always, that's what makes it so valuable, your podcast, right? To me specific. And I know it's a lot of people who are in Guam. But I remember in one of your podcasts, you said, maybe you'll even finish this sentence. Everybody loves to be from Guam, but
no one loves to be here.
Yeah.
Right.
People don't want to be. Everyone loves to be from Guam, but nobody wants to be here. And I started digging into that thought. And I feel like in a lot of ways, it's a true statement, right? For a lot of people, that's a true statement. But I started thinking, I lived in the States for 12 years and I was that guy. I was that person for 12 years. And then I moved home, right? You lived in the States, so you could have been that person too, right? So I started thinking about that thought. And it's just so interesting that as evolution would have it, and time would come around. A friend of mine who's a musician on Guam was like, text me and he's like, I'm thinking about moving to the States, just to pursue music. And I texted him back. I was like, why are you asking me? And he's like, I just want to get your thoughts. And I go, okay, let's talk about this. And I said, first of all, this is an interesting conversation.
Thanks, man.
That we have to establish first that there is no negative in this at all. There is no negative. So I hope when people hear this, like no one gets offended. There really cannot be any negative here. and then I associate that by saying, if you were to get up and go jog outside to better your health for yourself, is that negative? No, right? So there is no negative.
Right.
If you're doing whatever you feel is best for you and your music, and again, for you and your health, you feel like it's to go jog outside, that's not a negative. So whatever you choose to do with your music, there can't be any negative there, right? So to start this conversation, there is no negative. So I said to him, I was like, look, you have to look at what the benefits or what the advantages and the disadvantages are. If you stay on Guam, you are going to have to sacrifice your development and your exposure as a musician. There is no doubt about that.
For sure.
Right? So we talk about and that's not just from music.
That's across the board,
everything,
man.
Like project management, everything.
Yeah.
You stay on Guam.
Career-wise. Yeah.
Right. You are going to make a sacrifice for the development in whatever it is you're trying to do and exposure.
Possibly your true potential.
Right. And people are saying, well, now there's the internet. Still, even with the internet, you got to think that people have 10 times or 100 times the exposure plus the internet in the States. So they already got, just by default, they have an advantage over you. So that right there gets you a different, you look at all of our good friends who are doing music in the States and how well they're doing. Don't you just like, first of all, let's cheers to all of those. Let's cheers to all of those musicians who are sitting, or we're making it out there, like all of our boys, right? Because don't you just sit back and go, damn, I'm so happy for them. Like,
I'm absolutely proud.
Oh man, I every time I see something, I'm like, yeah, that's.
I remember talking to Shabby before he split. He goes, yeah, man, I'm moving off island and I'm gonna go pursue music out there. And I had no doubt in my mind that he was gonna find something and make a name for himself.
Right.
And he's been on tours.
Yeah,
joining bands, backing popular reggae musicians. So,
man, like it's amazing the bills that they've been on, right? So you can't like help but just be happy for them, which is amazing. So going back to the topic we said, right? Like if you stay on Guam, you're gonna sacrifice. So then why stay on Guam? And it goes back to like what you choose as your desire for your music. If I choose to go jogging because I want to lose weight, that's what I chose as my health, is losing weight. But some people can say, well, I don't want to go jog because losing weight is not what I view as healthy. Right, not my definition. My definition of healthy is not eating sugar so that my diabetes doesn't flare up, right? So everyone has their own definition. That's why there cannot be any negatives in this discussion. So if you choose to stay on Guam and you're going to sacrifice the exposure and whatever, but you're going to help build a community that you love, that potentially has a lot of your family members in it who want to do the same thing. Mm-hmm. Think about, you gigged for a long time here in Guam. I've been gigging for a long time, thankfully and blessed. We stand and we play music on the people who literally were gigging with less equipment and harder things before us, way in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, right? Like we stand on their shoulders. We play their songs. There's songs that they wrote or covered that are familiar to people now because they recorded it, and now we play those songs for familiarity at our gigs that give us the opportunity to make money playing music. So we stand on their shoulders. So you have the opportunity to stay on Guam and sacrifice your career, but you're also building a community for the people younger than you to stand on moving forward.
For sure.
Right? Like think of all of our friends who were, DUB and, Condition 4, like how many times I play On and On, and that's a Stephen Bishop song, but nobody in Guam would have known it if Condition 4 didn't cover it, right? So that's kind of what I think about. It's like, you're here, you're contributing to a community. I mean, I love Pia Mia. I don't know why anyone hates on Pia Mia here on Guam. Like, she wears the Guam seal on her neck. She holds Guam in everything she does, and literally that does zero for her professional music career. Right. She could drop Guam's name and it would do nothing to her her name. But people hate on her, so I don't know why. Like, I love her because she holds our name. She helps people to go, hey, what's in Guam? You know what I mean?
Right.
So I love her. But the truth is, if Pia Mia died today, she will literally have given nothing to the Guam music community. Is that a bad thing? No, it's not. Again, going back to the whole definition of health and success, like if it's not a bad thing, but that's the choice that she made. She went for losing weight as opposed to diabetes, and I went for diabetes and she, instead of losing weight. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to make sure to get across that this is not a negative statement. So when I stay on Guam,
it comes down to the individual, right? Like,
So-
what is it that you desire, and what is it? It's happiness, right? It's like, if moving off island is what makes you happy because you think that pursuing a particular thing off island is the answer,
right?
Who's to say you're wrong?
Right, and exactly, and I hope people celebrate that.
Right.
Like, you look at the people who do similar things as you do. Like, I this is a great example. Someone put this one in my head. It's like, if you open up a restaurant and you do all the work that it takes to open up a restaurant, it's not easy. You got to do you have to build everything in the kitchen up to code spec, and it's tough opening up a restaurant anywhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you start going to other restaurants, you start appreciating the other restaurants just for the grind that they had to go through. So that put a thought in my mind, like, why didn't we just appreciate everybody for the grind that they've gone through? Who cares what their result is? Who cares if they have crappy music? Who cares if they have good music? Who cares if they have crappy art?
Or the most popular or the least popular?
Or the most views? Who cares? Who cares if they won an IMA? Who cares?
Yeah.
Literally.
Congratulations.
Seriously, like,
okay.
I'm talking about like just appreciating everybody in the room
for sure
for that grind. That's what it's about. So like Shabi, he's my prim, by the way,
mm-hmm.
right? So we found out through good, like he's actually my third cousin. So Shabi moving off island, I talked to him before he left too, and I still connect with him. I still message him all the time. Shabi moving off island, that's the decision he makes, and I appreciate him for his grind. He's grinding so hard. It's not like you move to the States and it's just handed to you on a platter.
Right.
It's possibly even harder out there, right? The competition.
But the mindset here needs to change, that it's not betrayal,
right,
to move off island.
Dude, that's that you couldn't have put it better. I'm like. That just totally focused everything. Right. Yeah, it's not betrayal. So it's just a matter of the decision that you want. So I'm talking to my friend. He's like, I'm thinking about moving off island. I said, look, I can't even make this decision for you. I was like, this is the benefits that are going to come if you stay here. Yeah. You're going to be building this. This is the community you're going to be contributing to. I was like, but if you go off island, you're also going to have great opportunities. And that's proven. Look at all of our boys.
Possibly another community to be contributing to.
Right. And you could possibly bring that back home and bring it back. You know, I mean, literally, I went off for 12. I would be a hypocrite if I said, don't go off island.
Right.
Because I went off island for 12 years. And I brought back the project management knowledge that I gained out there. So you could potentially go off and come back, right?
Yeah, it's like Marco Polo, right?
Right.
Exactly. He took the Silk Road to go to Asia, and he brought back a bunch of shit that the Italians never knew even existed.
Right, exactly. I mean, look at Jack.
Like, oh shit, okay.
Like Jack Johnson, like he keeps all of his thing, all of his work and everything out of Hawaii. He's still, same old Hawaiian, right? Like that could be you. And so I was like, you got to make that decision. What do you want to do? You want to stay here and contribute here?
Yeah.
Or do you want to go? I mean, literally, you can't. I mean, if you ask somebody that they're going to better their health by not eating sugar to make sure their diabetes is like on point, you can't be mad at that. That's like amazing, dude. Or if they're going to go jog because they're going to lose weight. Again, going back, there is no negative. So I think it's a mindset, like it's not betrayal. I love how you put that.
Yeah, it's we have to understand that it's not a one track thing. Life isn't one track. And if you're not on the train, then that's it.
You're proving that. You're proving that with 201 episodes. Like, if it was one track, then that one track would have said, well, you can't do podcasts on Guam. Right. And if it was one track, they would have told me you couldn't be a full-time musician on Guam. Right. It's not one track. You're proving that it's really the track that you grind and you set for yourself.
For sure. For me, it boils down to happiness, right? If my contribution isn't making me happy,
I'm not going to do it.
Then why am I going to keep doing it?
If it's not a passion, right?
Right.
I also look into, coupled with happiness, I look to whether or not I'm contributing and serving the community. I realize that like I can't do this without the community supporting it. So I was like, well, why am I doing this? When I go play a song at any gig that I get hired for, I'm not playing that song for me. That's why I realized I'm like, it's not for me. I'm playing it for them. So like my mindset now, when I get behind a microphone, first of all, I think to myself, thank you, God, for this gig, because this feeds my family for another 2 weeks. Like, thank you, God. Then I go, thank you, God, for this opportunity to play this song for that guy who's right there, who loves this song and literally is going to like smile because I'm playing this song, And I just, it's an opportunity that like I never thought could happen. But now I'm like so grateful that the community accept the music. Let's not even talk about me. I'm so grateful they accept the music so that I can do this.
Right.
Like, man, that's amazing. Like, I never thought I could do it. You know what I mean? People are like, oh, I want to be a musician. Like, it doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, it's like opportunity may not like be here, but the advantage we have is that you can create opportunity for yourself.
Boom.
You just have to be creative about it, and you just have to have the will to do so and fight through it even when it sucks.
Yeah.
Because it's gonna suck.
There's a lot of opportunities here that are not saturated.
Right.
And that creates a lucrative opportunity for a lot of people.
And we can maybe have people come from off island and take advantage of those opportunities that we see also that they see, or we can do it ourselves.
Right.
Right. And
it's gonna be a grind though. That's like what people maybe are afraid of. It's gonna be a grind. It's gonna be hard work. But considering that the hard work that you put in to solve a problem, right? That's kind of what we do. Like, you solved the problem here. You have great equipment. There's great microphones. You have found a way to have a podcast for 201 episodes here on Guam, right? So you solved that problem. Now people are going to follow in your solution, which is an amazing thing. Like a pioneer in a way. You know what I mean?
Well, I hate this. I hate to like think of myself as such, just because podcasts has been around and people have done it.
Mm-hmm. But on Guam,
I mean, yeah, people have. I believe people have tried to do it here on Guam. It's the consistency, right?
But you have to think beyond technical, right? In order to do a podcast, you have to be able to get the people in to do the podcast. So that comes down to networking, the people you know, how you present yourself, what you do to get people to take time out of their schedule. I'm taking time away from my family to come down here to your apartment, and it's beyond the technical proofing and validation that you had to figure out in the technical discovery. It's also part of the work that you do to network with people, to find a way to do what you do and have it help and serve other people in what they do. So that's kind of like the secret sauce there, right? Because you wouldn't have lasted 201 episodes if people didn't like what you do, believe in you, believe in this, believe in the ability to document stuff.
For sure, man. As much as I do it, not to be the most popular person or most popular person to do talk. It makes me happy to know that people actually are engaging with it. When I go out and people say, "Oh shit, you do the podcast?" Like, "Oh fuck, I do the podcast." It's weird.
Yeah. You're like,
I'm still not used to it yet.
I'm also the engineer, but I do the podcast. And I've heard you say a couple times, like, this was not in your comfort zone.
Right.
This was out of your comfort zone.
Very, very, very much introverted. I use music as my outlet to express myself. I was never expressive through words, through conversation, through looking in the eyes of another person and creating thought, right? And
dialogue.
It's dialogue. And I don't know. I just feel blessed to have been tapped to being able to do this.
Do you feel like you're the same, or you've progressed over 200 episodes?
I've evolved, man.
Really?
I've evolved as a person.
And that's grown you?
Yeah, man. Just my outlook on life and my outlook on the fact that we're all doing stuff here. We're all thinking beings, and it's changed me in the way that just because the way someone looks or what they have on their body, or the shirt that they're wearing, it doesn't matter. They're thinking something, and they're possibly doing something that I have no idea about, and they've been through an experience that I have never possibly been through, and I only know this because they're telling me it.
Through these podcasts.
Right.
Wow.
Through this.
And that's profound, isn't it?
Oh, definitely, man.
Dude.
And I think that's why I keep on doing it. It's because it's continually changing me.
So can I ask you a question?
Sure.
I mean, I know this is your show, but I totally want to pick your brain. So you're 200 episodes in. There's somebody who wants to get involved, either if it's in podcasting or whatever, production or whatever it is, here on Guam. And you have to think about all the obstacles you've overcome, right? And whether or not it's worth it or not. What do you tell someone who's like literally toying with the decision to go heads down and take at it?
I tell them to do it. The hardest thing for me to start it was I was afraid of myself. It wasn't.
Isn't that the case?
I was pretending I was afraid of what other people had to think, but I was afraid of myself.
Oh.
Of being exposed in a sense, becoming vulnerable, right? In thought, in things I say, how I speak. And I've helped other people start their own shows.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
They hit me up. Dear Gorgeous Letters.
That's super
my
cool.
cousin and Jelena and Akina. They started their own podcast, and before they started, my cousin Jelena hit me up. She's like, "Hey, can we sit down and talk?" And I was like, "Hell yeah,
dude!" More people need to know about this.
And so I
didn't know that. That's profound, dude.
Man, I have nothing to hide. I'm not the gatekeeper for podcasts here on Guam.
Yeah, but again, like your success speaks for itself, which is amazing.
If I can share the knowledge that I've learned with everybody, I would. And the only way I can share knowledge is through people listening to this podcast, but not necessarily my knowledge. It's knowledge that's shared on this podcast through dialogue.
You have a platform though, and maybe we can make something work where you can actually share it. You just sparked some ideas. I'm like, maybe we need to do a Master Random Flip podcast where we come in and like a bunch of us come in and just one after the other, like, like machine gun style.
Grind me?
No, not grading you. What do they call it? Speed dating? Where they
grind. You're gonna grind me down.
Like 10 people come in and start asking you questions about podcasting to help others. Dude, maybe we should do that. That's what I'm thinking. Like, we should, maybe it should be an extraction of your knowledge. Like, you bring us in to extract knowledge from our experiences. I think it's time for, man, thanks,
man. I was very nervous about starting this podcast, and the fact that I'm 200 episodes in, it still blows my mind to this day because it took me 10 months to start it.
Wow, that's a long time. Just sitting on it for 10 months. I bought
all the gear. All the gear was sitting in my living room
for 10 months.
For 10 months. And I was looking at it like, no.
And your girlfriend or your mom's like, what is this?
Yeah.
You spent all this money. What?
Yeah. What is all this shit? And, and it wasn't until one of my friends, Bo Santos, he's like, hey, bro, what's up with your podcast? I was like,
do it.
Well, I'm just kind of like thinking about it. He's like, bro, let's record something. I was like, all right. He's like, just bring your shit. And that's how it started, man. And so I've sort of been through those phases of insecurity and being unsure about myself and doubt. And that's why I'm saying it's like the only thing that was stopping me was me.
So how do you get over that? How did you get over that? And what do you tell somebody?
Just keep doing it.
Just iterations.
You have to keep doing it.
Just
it's experience, dude. It's
start small.
I started doing jiu-jitsu recently, and and I've never found such correlation with the sport to life. And you won't know, and you won't learn unless you put yourself on the mats. And big ups to Professors Lewis and Elijah Regis, dude, at Fugal Bonsai to put that in my brain.
Wow.
To tell me like, hey man, you want to learn this? You have all these people here to teach you. You just have to come.
Yeah.
You have to put in the mat time. And for me, for podcasting, putting in the mat time was putting in the hours, being uncomfortable. Even when I was unsure, like, oh man, I don't know if I'm going to be able to talk to this person.
Risking failure.
Whoa. You have to bomb, dude. And it's like,
failure is the greatest teacher, though.
Right.
That's a
you won't
quote.
know.
Right. That's a quote that I use all the time when I coach. Is failure is the greatest teacher. And a lot of times I tell people like, let's say we're going over a concept on something in project management, and I'm like, I'll call it out, be like, I'm really good at this concept, huh? They're like, yeah, you're really good at this. I'm like, guess how I got there? And it's this common theme where like it's just iterations. So if you're listening and you're new, you want to try something, just try it.
Just do it. Just fucking do it.
Keep doing.
My motto for the first, and it's still up to now, I want to say, is pull the trigger. For the first couple years, and I want to say up to now, is pull the trigger. You have to pull the trigger.
Start.
If I didn't pull the trigger, I would have never done it.
Man. That's big, man. That's big. That's big. Dude, that's
Thanks,
big.
bro.
I mean, considering coming from an introvert, like that's big. I mean, I'm going to be real. Like I'm not an introvert. Like everybody knows that. Like, and sometimes that's the problem for me. Right. But I don't even look at it from that perspective. So to have somebody else come through, that's interesting. You talk about starting it. There's a company in Texas, like a cookie company. I forgot what the name of it was. They started in their home oven as a capstone project in their senior year. And he literally said, like, if I was to start this all over again, I wouldn't want you to tell me how much work it's going to be. He's like, because if I knew how much work it would be, I would have never have started. And he's like, but now he's like, what I've gotten from all that work, I wouldn't ever replace it. Like I wouldn't, give it up for anything else. So considering like just you have to put in the work.
You have to put in the time, dude.
The mat time, like you said, right?
Man.
Using the jiu-jitsu.
In jiu-jitsu, you get choked out, go back and get choked out again and figure out how not to get choked out.
Right. You remember like, okay, don't do that move. Right.
Right. Don't put your fucking hand there. You choke yourself out with your hand there.
That's a red flag for someone to be like, oh, that's it. We're done. Tap out.
Right, dude. And I think that's what's pushed me. And if it wasn't for this making me happy and if it wasn't for this evolving me as a person, I wouldn't be doing this.
Man.
I needed a reason to do this. I can have one listener, Joe. One listener. And that's all I need. And I don't need 1,000. I don't need 10,000.
And it makes it all worth it.
Yeah.
Dude.
Someone's listening.
I feel similar when I'm playing for a crowd. Like I just played for a really big event this past weekend. And it was like 900 people there.
Mm-hmm.
And like when I play for 900 people, it's the same as if I play for 9.
Right.
Like if I have one person listening, that's all I focus on. And I give my heart and everything I've got for that one.
Yeah.
Sometimes where I play, they make me play to a wall. There's literally when I played at the Guam Museum because of rain and everything, they're like, you have to play here. And literally 4 feet in front of me was this wall. Like I played to a wall. And I looked to the left and I saw 3 people standing having a beer. And the only thing they were doing was watching me. And I'm like, I'm playing to a wall, but I know those 3 people are listening. So I'm going to play my heart out for those 3 people.
Sure.
Just, look at this wall.
For sure.
And play. So, I mean, just to know that's cool.
Yeah,
man.
even when I was playing music and, it's been many years since I've, at least 3 years since I've actually stepped on the stage. But even when we had one person at our gig, even when I was playing in Tucson and we had the community drunk he was the only there on a Sunday night and our acoustic gig, I was playing for him.
Yeah, dude.
I was playing my heart out. And
those make it worth it, huh?
Yeah, man. If you're gonna do something, do it with passion.
When we started as a full-time musician, I told my wife, I said, honey, first of all, if we're gonna do music full-time, and when I say my wife and I, because part of our plan, our business strategy, was for Jackie to teach piano. So she's a piano instructor, right? She had a bunch of students. Before the baby was born, she had a bunch of students.
Okay.
And then it was for me to play gigs and then me to produce and music so that we can have that going, right? So that was part of the strategy. I said, if we're going to do this, it's not going to be easier when we're 10 years older. We need to do it now. And then I said, give me 12 months fully, all in. 12 months all in. And if after 12 months this doesn't work, I promise you I'll go back and get a 9-to-5 job, using project management, whatever. Man, it's been 27 months now. 27 months. Like
beyond the scope.
Way beyond. And again, going back to blessings, like that doesn't happen unless the community accepts you. And people are like, what do you mean by that? Like you can't just be a full-time musician, wake up one morning and go apply for it. You can't be like, I want to apply for this job. You can't do that. It doesn't work that way. Like you have to build a craft from when you're young and, learn your craft. But then ultimately when you go play, people have to like the music. They have to like you and they have to book you. They have to like your videos on social media. I mean, the days of promotional music is so different from when it was just record companies in the olden days. Now you have to do so much self-promotion.
Right.
And so literally when I tell
it makes it easier, but it also makes it harder.
Oh man, you're right. Like you're right. In some aspects it's super easy, but some aspects it's really harder.
Right.
So like when I tell people thank you for the likes and the shares and the views, it literally is exactly what makes us stand on our own 2 feet. When people hear a song on a video or something because someone liked it and it popped up on their feed, and then they're like, hey, let's book this guy for Papa's 76th anniversary or his birthday, whatever. Like, that's what makes it all possible. So like to have that opportunity, holy cow. Like I wake up every morning going, I have a gig today. Thank you, Lord. I have a gig today. I know it could all stop too,
Yeah.
But I just told my wife, I was like, we're gonna go all in on this, and we're gonna fail, and we're just gonna fall down 7 times. We're gonna get up 8, and literally, like that's all I kept thinking to myself, like just keep going, keep going.
Yeah, man. I think, and also on the other side of the same token, it's like people get bogged down because they're not getting the attention they thought they were gonna get, so they stop. I was like, oh,
Has
man.
that happened to you in podcasts too?
No, I didn't stop because I wasn't getting attention. And like I said, if one person's listening,
that's it.
Kudos, man. It's that's cool with me. If 1,000 people listen, if 1,000 people listen to one podcast, shit, cool.
I remember you telling me one time that someone like messaged you from like way in the States, and he was like, your podcast keeps me connected to Guam. You got a message like that.
Yeah, man. And actually last year he came to Guam for the very first time.
Oh, sick.
Yeah. And he connected with family in Maritzo and Tamuning.
Sick.
That he's met for the very first time. And it was
I just got goosebumps.
And it was Poly Eric. His name's Jay Castro. And he grew up in the Bay Area, grew up around culture, but he's never been to Guam. And it started off with him and his family, and he ended up bringing 13 people out here with him.
Oh,
and dude, they had
the podcast.
They had a mini family reunion over in Tamuning at the Tamuning Community Center because they found out they were staying in Maritzo at a family member's house, and they were wondering like, who's these people that are here, and they realized they're all related, and then they're like, oh shoot, we might be related to these people up here. And he said it was the most amazing thing.
Oh.
And it was Poly Eric Forbes' podcast that I was doing with him.
That's right.
Really wanted him
the
to
one on
connect.
death?
It had to be on a couple of the ones on culture. Whatever it was. Okay. I think it was all
You've
of
done
them.
A couple with him.
Right.
So
I've done like 3 or 4
I listened to the one on death. I listened to the one on death. It was kind of around the time of my son Tegan.
Okay.
So I was like, that one really got to me.
Oh man, talking about death was because I grew up around it.
Yep. I was just gonna say,
it was.
You guys helped us with
it
our
seems
son.
like it's like an easy thing to talk about, but it's still a very tough thing to talk about. And
I mean, my wife and I, we view death differently now, right? I mean, we can. That's a whole nother topic in itself. Like
for sure,
the experience of our son Tegan Michael, it has changed our lives tremendously. And this may be a little too deep, but I will just throw out that. Someone put a thought in my mind, someone had said a quote, what are you going to do with the gift of your son's death? And for this folks listening, we had a very beautiful baby boy. He had a heart defect and he was with us for 42 hours. And then, God took him and said, this is mine. You're having this baby for me. So he's an angel and he's up in heaven. He's watching over us. But yeah, what are you going to do with the gift of your son's death? I'll let you ponder that one because especially if you just lost a child, that seems kind of rude, actually. It's like, what are you talking about? How can my son dying be a gift? And I will connect that to...
Did you connect right away?
No, of course not. I don't think anybody can. Like, your emotions are too intense that a deep thought like that, it takes a while for you to settle on. I mean, so that's not something you could do right away. So when I was listening to the episode with Poly Eric, and he was talking about death and everything he was saying and everything you were saying, it's like death is the next thing we do. And you can't. That may sound very insensitive to somebody who doesn't realize that, or maybe hasn't been through experiences that I have, or my wife and I have. So it's the next thing we do. And if you think about what it brings. Right, it brings families closer. It brings realization.
Right.
It brings perspective,
understanding of mortality.
Yeah, knowing everything I just said. Families together, realization, perspective. I'm talking about self-realization, self-perspective. How you are with your family, like that. in itself becomes a gift when you understand, like, the reason why I decided to accept the risk and take it to become a full-time musician, a lot of it came from my experience with my son.
Wow.
Right. Like, that was like, you know, I mean, I'll just put it in simple words. Like, let's go be a musician. Let's go be a full-time musician. What are we going to fail? Like, we're going to be broke. We're going to have no money. We're going to have to move in with our parents. Oh, big deal. I just lost a son. Like, what is moving in by my parents? What's the worst thing that could happen if we fail?
Right.
Doesn't even compare to what I just had to experience with my son.
For sure.
So that kind of, again, that's a gift. Like, look, I'm standing here how many months later? I think it's like 27 months later. I'm standing here 27 months later with the amazing blessing to be able to play music and serve people of Guam, dude, and the people on the internet everywhere in the world who listen to the music. And that came, man, as a gift. That's a gift, you know? But again, it's kind of deep, and like I'm very careful of who I say it to.
Well, it's something, man, it's a topic that people shy away from constantly. Yeah. We use distractions of the world to not think about our mortality. Right. I'm actually listening to a podcast on Hidden Brain about, it's called We're All Gonna Die. And it's just the things that we do to ignore our mortality. And when our mortality is presented to us, the thing that it makes us do because it's been presented, there's been studies of people when they're presented with their mortality, it's a self-esteem booster, and they want to do something that they've never done before because they know that their mortality is imminent.
Yeah. And it gives them perspective.
Wow, it's crazy we're talking about this because I'm literally just finishing up this podcast. I'll send you the link for this podcast.
There is no such thing as a coincidence. I believe that, like, things happen for a reason.
For sure.
So that's cool. I mean, it kind of puts things in perspective that gives you desire to do something, right? And I felt like once I had fire and desire to do something, there was a common theme that came up every single time I went to do something related to my passion or my desire. And that common theme came up. The common theme that came up was, why am I doing this? And it always came around to, you're doing this to serve. And that's not just a cliche. Like, literally, why do you play music? You're doing it to serve the community. And like, where do people need music? Everywhere. Every time they need a booking, I'm there to serve. And I say that all the time. And people are probably sick of me saying, like, serve the event. But that's the way I feel. Like, when I play at a restaurant, I'm there to serve the restaurant and the people who are there. Like, I never once take it for granted.
Never come in with your aviator shades and your bling bling on your chest. Like, hey,
I'm here. I've arrived.
Who's gonna set my shit up? Oh, I gotta set it up.
Yeah, it's me. I forgot. Yeah. No, diva. No, you can't. Yeah, seriously, you can't be a diva. I mean, if some people have it, that's great. I feel like, again, if you want to be full-time here on Guam as a musician and make that, there's no way you can do that unless you serve, like, unless there's a community that you're contributing to.
Right.
And in the end, that's what it comes down to. Like, you can have the most views on your video. Like, let's say you get 1 million views, right? You're going to think to yourself, oh, when am I going to get 2 million? Right? Then you get 2 million, and you're going to think to yourself, oh, now I have to strive for 3 million. Then you get 3 million.
It's so funny you say that, because I had Mama Shar on the podcast, and she hit 1 million for the first time on her YouTube video. And
that,
she said,
with that super costume that she did, right?
Which was amazing. Fucked me up because I wanted to do more. I wanted more. I kept wanting more, and it was doing nothing for me. And I was like, I was not expecting that. You know what I mean? It's you. Yeah, the happiness is there initially, but then this self-confidence comes in, and your self-esteem is boosted so high that you're no longer in reality of what you expect so much more of yourself because you've hit this pinnacle. And when you don't hit it, then you start questioning yourself. And it's so crazy you say that.
Man, you cannot be more right. I mean,
she cannot. Yeah, I got that from her. Right.
You And so what I thought was, and that's why, like, when I say I don't do the Rise the Tide episodes for views, I don't do it for likes or shares, I don't do the BPR, I don't do it for that. Because if I focused on that, then I'd be miserable all the time. I'd look at the people who have 60 million views and I'm like, why don't I have that? Right. What I really focus on is this effective in serving the people who I care about? And the people who I care about, when I put out a project management BPRP video, the people I care about, and I mentioned this to you before, is there's a genuine passion to help people on Guam increase their abilities to deliver anything, whether it's a project, a product, whatever it is, a genuine passion to help people deliver. So when I put out a video, I don't care about the likes or the shares. When someone messages me and goes, damn, this video really helped me, I took notes, I'm like, ding, that's it. Like, who cares about the views? I don't care about that stuff. That's not why I do this. And if I were to focus on that, I would literally have like no value.
Right.
You know what I mean? And especially on Guam, like I go play a show and I play the show to give the value. Like, one of the hardest things for me, and people don't know this, the hardest things for me is to say no to a gig. That's like super hard for me because, I mean, people reach out to spend money to have me come play music for their family. That's an honor. Like, that's like one of the greatest honors. Like, if you were to play a song right now and someone goes, dude, you're really good, can I pay you to play for my family? Like, that's a super honor.
Right.
And if I'm booked already, it kills me to say, man, I'm so sorry. Like, I always ask people, is there another date that I can play for you? Because, like,
can you move your party, please?
Well, I mean, I don't want.
I know the birthday's on the 4th, but can you make it on the 6th?
Man, I mean, and the other thing I don't like to do now is I don't like to play double gigs in a day. Mm-hmm. Vocally, it tears you up. And I remember you mentioning that, like, Matt Sablon was on, he like had a raspy voice or whatever. But yeah, it tears you up if you sing for very long. That's not, your vocals is not something that's infinite, right? So right. I don't like to do double gigs. When someone called, like, I just got this call the other day, and I love the family for calling. And they said, are you available on Wednesday? And most people know I play Wednesday for lunch. And I was like, I already have a gig. I play Wednesday for lunch. And they're like, well, we're asking for dinner. I was like, I don't really like to do 2 gigs in a day. What's it for? And he said, it's for my dad's birthday. And it's not really a significant, but like 100 or whatever. And he's like, but we almost lost him this year, and my siblings want to do something. And I was like, I'm there. Like, immediately I was like, I'm there. Like, if I'll give you everything I've got. And it was such a small thing. It was just in a restaurant. It was a small thing in a private room, and I gave it everything I got. And they were the most appreciative people, and I loved playing for them. Mm-hmm. They were so awesome. And like, literally, like, I can't say no to that. And there's times too, my wife's like, you're gonna play that gig, like I'm like, well, how do I say no? Like, I can't. And there's a lot of people who have supported me up to this point and supported the music and supported my family. Right. And it's like a way that I can give back.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, man, that's just kind of, I feel like from a perspective of like, how did you do it? How do you continue to be successful? How do you continue to stay as a musician and move forward? It's like, focus on how what you do can help someone in what they do. If you focus on that, then I feel like that's the secret sauce. If there is a secret sauce.
Yeah, paying it forward, man.
Man, that's that's. I mean, it seems so simple, but at the same time, it's so profound.
Yeah, but the thing about it seems so simple, but it's not so common. It's people want to hold on to their trade secrets, and they're like, nah, man, I worked hard for this shit.
Yeah, it's more like job security.
Yeah, it's like, right? You figure it out. I had to figure it out.
That's where the Rise the Tide notion come in. And we talked about him earlier. I just want to give a shout out.
It's a great segue.
Right, really. But because you're talking about, like, I want to shout out to Bo Santos, because you talked about that. It's like hoarding knowledge. That's not Rise the Tide. No. That's rising your ship.
Right.
And the concept of Rise the Tide, and again, shout out to Bo Santos.
Sinking all the boats so that it can cause displacement so that your ship can rise.
Right. I mean, that's amazing engineering. I love that, because I understand. He said every word of it. Creating displacement to increase the height of your ship, man. That's awesome. But yeah, you came up. I got the idea from you on one of your podcasts. You said high tide rises all ships, and you said you got that from Bo Santos. So shout out to Bo, man. Thank you. But yeah, like, rising the tide and a focus on rising the tide to lift everybody around you is a very different notion from hoarding, like what you said, hoarding the, you know, the knowledge and literally just trying to keep job security, whatever. That's not a world that we live in. Like, the community thrives when you don't hoard that. You know what I mean? So I feel like every time I step into any type of venture, my goal is like, how do I serve? How do I contribute to the tide around me? How do I find a way to help out? Like, the one thing that I really would love to do is to help other musicians by like bringing them into my gig. But at this point, like, it's so difficult just because of like the cost. You know what I mean? Like, when I was in the States and I'd book a gig, I could charge way more and bring on musicians. So it was an opportunity to be like, hey, I just booked this gig and you want to come play bass? You know, I booked this gig and you want to come play guitar? And contrary to what people believe, I would much rather play alongside musicians. That, you know, that is like the ultimate fun.
For sure.
Right. Playing by yourself, dude, it gets lonely. Like, you're the only guy behind the microphone. I told my wife, I was like, sometimes it's pretty lonely. Like, during my breaks, I always want to go talk to people because sometimes it's super lonely. You know what I mean? So, like, if you see me at a gig, please wave hi, because I'm like up there by
Connect
myself.
with Joe, please.
Right. But I mean, you saw me playing that one time at Rich's house, and I was having so much fun because I love playing alongside other musicians. In the States, the ability to charge more out there, and just the cost that, you know, just the level that you can charge, it allows for that. Here on Guam, man, when I came back, God bless the musicians here on Guam, man, because the grind is hard, and you really have to be passionate about what you do in order to put it in. And you know, sometimes you're playing to two people in the chair, you know what I mean? And you're trying to find a way to promote it as much as you can to get people to come. And if you play every Wednesday at a bar, chances are you're playing to the same people every Wednesday. You can't just play the same 12 songs every set. You have to have like 200 songs in your set in order to, you know, make it work. So they come back every day and they're like, oh, I never heard you play that song before. You know what I mean? So you have to keep it fresh. But yeah, it's a challenge. I would love to find a way to bring other musicians into it. Every day I think about it, and I'm always like, how? Like, I'm barely right now surviving my family. You know what I mean?
Right.
Maybe someday if I get one single to go super viral that it makes me thousands of dollars, then I can be like, all right, cool. Now I don't need as much money for the gigs. I'm going to call my homies.
Right.
Like, let's go in. You know what I mean? Then I'll be able to open these gigs up. You guys take this one. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff. But I mean, shout outs to all of our musicians here, man. They make it work. Just being, we talked a little bit about the IMAs. Being in the room of the IMAs, I was thinking to myself, if there was no IMAs, we would have nothing. Think about any other way musicians get recognized. There's nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing on Guam.
Right.
Like, shout out to Sorensen. And, you know, I say shout out to them because they help me promote my music. Like, whenever I have a single that comes out, they're like, yeah, Joe, come in the studio. I'm like, oh my God, thank you. I appreciate that, you know, so much. So it's really awesome. So shout out to them. Like, but I remember being in the room, looking around going, these are all really badass musicians, like monsters. And I don't even want to start listing names because I know I'm going to forget somebody.
Right.
But everybody knows who they are. Like, look at everybody who won. But even more, the people who won, look at everybody who was nominated. Like, that's a great company to be a part of. Right. You know, like, just that group. I was looking at, someone sang the national anthem. I was sitting in the back, standing next to Dee Uyehara, Mama Shar, Matt Sablon, a whole bunch of people. They were all doing like 4-part harmonies in the back of the room. I was like, goosebumps right now. Like, I was like, this is amazing. Like, look at these guys freaking harmonizing to the, you know, the singer on stage. And that was kind of like a true, like, rise the tide moment. It's like, harmony is like one of the true opportunities to support a musician. And they were just all in there with their heart to support
award or not, right?
Man, you know what I mean? Like, it was just such a good vibe to be around, just to know that
was exists. That your first one to go to?
No, I actually, to tell you the truth, I went to the very first IMA.
Okay.
Yeah, when I first moved back. So I went to the very first IMA, and I've been to a bunch of them. So again, like, if there is, I really just go just to support the musicians.
Right.
Like, most musicians you talk to, especially the ones who are pretty veteran, when we stand behind a microphone, we don't do it for awards, man. Like, that's the last thing on our mind.
For sure.
Don't get me wrong. It's super appreciative, super grateful for awards, but that's not what we would do it for.
Craziest thing is that you weren't asking people to vote and you won 3 awards.
Man, thank you. I appreciate that. That's not part of what.
I mean,
thank you.
It just goes to show what your hard work has, like,
Thank you.
culminated to.
Thank you, everybody listening. If you voted, I really appreciate you guys. Again, I stand behind the microphone. My goal is to connect with the audience and serve. And we've talked technically of how I've tried to come up with creative ways to connect with people, on live and try to do it in
Request the songs on
those kinds of things
on the phone, and then it goes straight to your iPad.
Right. And my job is to connect with somebody, and to serve the event. That's really what my job is and what I try to do. And the awards that come around, man, I'm really so thankful and grateful for everybody to do that. But we don't do it for awards. And shout out to Sorensen for just giving a platform for people to be recognized. It was such good vibes. You know what I mean? Everybody in the room was such good vibes. So there's so many people around Guam that contribute to the Guam music that it's a good community to be a part of, man.
Right.
I feel like we should do some podcast awards too. Master Random would win all of it.
No.
We should podcast awards. But
I can think of a few good podcasts that are way better than mine.
I mean, that kind of brings up a concept that we talked about, right? Like, let's say I was starting off right now in either podcasting or art or music or anything in the creative space. How could I contribute to the tide? And, the tide could be Guam. It could be the Marianas, whatever your tide is. How could I contribute to the tide? What would be that thought? I continuously think about this.
Right off the bat, I think is putting as much information as you can on the internet.
Content creator.
Yeah, man. I mean, everybody has to be. Even people now who I didn't expect. I was just telling you about Marisha Mariano. I had no idea she sang. And she put a video out a couple days ago. And I only know her from Inspire Guam.
Oh, cool.
And I helped Vic Calvo, and he put it together, and he asked me to host the day. And the first one he asked me to speak. The second one he asked me to host the day or MC the event. And that's where I met her, and I had no idea. And it wasn't until that I knew, like, oh shit, she can sing, right? And so as long as people are constantly putting things out on the internet is our library, basically. Right. It's our
encyclopedia.
Yeah, our library of Alexandria.
There you go.
Right, and that won't go away, that won't sink into the ocean or burn down because Nero's pissed or anything like that, right? It's there forever.
Yeah.
The internet, it's there forever. Even if you delete it, somebody has a copy, right? And so that's right off the bat. I think that's how you how anybody can contribute to rising the tide.
Our tide, right?
Right. And like I said, instead of sinking other boats, throw your knowledge into the water so that
the water rises. Right. And it doesn't have to, I'm thinking it doesn't even have to be like amazing quality. Like, you don't need to go get a really fancy camera or whatever. I mean, literally, it just has to be genuine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
My friend Peter Kimball, he works at Twitch now, and he pursued his dream. He moved to the Bay Area and he pursued his dream and kind of willed himself to become, he's a gamer, and he willed himself to be to work at Twitch. And he told me MVP, minimum value product. You don't need the best equipment in the world.
Right.
All you need is minimum value product.
Whatever it takes
to do it.
I also think, going back to the reason why I started watching or listening to the very first Master Random episode I did, which was the 3 DJs, it's creating, if you're really going to talk about contributing to the tide that's specifically around you, that you float in, it's creating content that's relevant to that tide. So I love listening to, and I see Jojo Camacho all the time. I see Ronnie Perez. I'm like, you know what? I listened to your episode. Like, I loved your episode because you guys talked about, the challenge with the DJs. I'm like, man, that's the same grind that we go to as musicians. So same thing. So it's such a relevant contribution to the tide. And I think that also plays a role. Like, if you can find ways to do what you said and your suggestion of create content that's focused on specifically the tide that's around you, like the challenges that you go through as a musician or an artist or a podcaster or whatever, and focusing on how you can help others, elevate themselves as well. I think that's big.
Yeah, man, I got lucky to be able to just talk about anything and people listen to it and just bring on anybody. I think now for podcasts, it would be beneficial for people to be more topic specific and maybe you should turn your episodes into your project management and the Rise to Tide episodes into podcasts.
Hey, that's what we're doing. So stay tuned, everybody, that we are going to be publishing snippets of this podcast on Rise the Tide.
Right.
So we're going to be cutting out. That's exactly what I want. I mean, Boo and I had been talking for a while, and he was like, man, let's do he's like, come back on the podcast. I was like, yeah, I also want you on Rise the Tide. He's like, isn't that what we do? That's like what we do. And I was like, you're right. It's seamless. So yeah, we're going to be putting that together. So I just had somebody on the show last week, or last month, earlier this month, which was Peter Cruz.
Mm-hmm.
So he came into Guam, and so I asked him
incredible musician,
right? And I asked him to talk about something that a lot of people on Guam don't know because it's tough for us, which is touring, right? And we had other topics we talked about. I was like, you know what? Talk about touring, because there's few people who tour. Mm-hmm. And really, like, we did one episode where it's like the challenges of touring. Of course, that's what you have to get over. And then there was the other episode, which was the benefits. So we did both, right? So I asked him to talk about touring, and that's what I want to do now. We're 37 episodes in now. So I want to do every month. I want to have at least one person, featured come on. So the October episodes, the first 2 or first 3 will be something from this podcast. And then in November, I'm going to have somebody else. And then that's kind of where I'm moving.
Sorry, it goes out of the norm of your setup here.
Yeah, no, dude. I think that's actually helping me. Yeah. Because that means it's fresh. People are tired of seeing me in my, different hats and different shirts and, in the same setting. But I think it's a great opportunity to do so. And the cool thing about that is it helps me develop too. So I'm kind of taking a page out of what you were saying. Like you evolve yourself by listening to people share their story with you. Yeah. And I feel like that's what happens too. Like the very first person that I had on Rise the Tide was Ryan Bustamante. So shout out to him, man. What's up, Ryan? Like, he's working his grind out there in Tucson. Right. we miss you here on Guam. Like, I'm not gonna lie, bro.
I miss you in the gym, right? Beating me up on the mats, right?
So yeah, shout out. So he was the first one. We talked about promoting. How do you promote yourself as an artist, right? And then so we're gonna have. He
was the first to sort of promote other people, like
Acoustic Attack.
With Acoustic Attack.
Talk about Rise the Tide.
Yeah, man.
That's like Rise the Tide in its essence right there, man.
For sure.
Dude, I love the fact that he did that. I mean, he got people interested in Guam musicians and artists here in Guam. He got people that, do that. I mean,
people out of the woodworks, dude.
Yeah, man. I mean, I say it again, like I tell him too, every time I talk to him, I'm like, I miss you, bro. And he's like, I know, I love you too, Joe. Like, yeah, man, I want you to come back. You ready to come back home again? We do good work together, so, I mean, he was the video and lighting brains behind On Live. It looks so good because of him. And I learned so much from him. So like, everything that I know about video and lighting, I learned from him. He showed me, and every time I put out a video, I'm like, okay, give it to me. What he's like, okay, lighting on this, and I'm like, all right on. It just helps me get better. So
right.
Yeah. So thanks, man. I appreciate him so much. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm moving to is asking other people to share their. I have a basis. I've done a bunch of episodes where I feel like there's a foundation to stand on for Rise the Tide, and then it's just to move to having and facilitating other ships to Rise in the Tide if they want to contribute, right? It all has to be voluntary. It can't,
for sure.
We can't force anybody to do it.
Yeah.
So, like you couldn't force me to come here and do a podcast. It has to be voluntary. You're like, get to my house.
Come now.
Yeah. Dude, how far are you going? I don't want to.
I don't know.
I'm having a good time, man. So
how long have we been going for?
Man.
An hour and 34.
Whoa, dude.
It happens, man.
Man, I mean,
it happens.
But I mean, every time I talk to you, it's always like genuine coming off. So I appreciate you so much. I appreciate your time, man.
For sure.
So we'll be posting some of this stuff on our Rise the Tide too. So
have we talked about everything we wanted to talk about, at least for Rise the Tide content?
Man, honestly, I didn't even have. I mean, that was an intention, but I feel like it was just kind of like a secondary intention. Like I really wanted just the connection is really what's most important. And so I think we talked about production, right? And we talked about how you got started, like what's the advice for someone just starting out, and then we talked about creating content to rise the tide. I think that's a lot. I mean, that's good. I mean, and do you have any ideas what you want to throw out?
No, you know me.
No, really, like
I come with zero agenda to anything.
I mean, I feel like that's the best way to approach anything, to be genuine. Because if you come with an agenda, then guess what's going to happen? You're going to be influenced by
man. Before I used to have a notebook and I used to write down notes. And as people are talking, I'm like, huh? Oh shit! I fucking totally forgot I'm talking.
You're like, yeah, you just got to connect with me, man. Don't connect with your notebook. Right. But how about from like a musician perspective, right? I see it from my perspective, which is someone who plays like anywhere from 5 to 9, 10 shows a week, and that's my perspective. But coming from the band, coming from a smaller scale, in terms of how you used to gig, right? What anything you want to add for musicians?
Man, don't burn yourself out. Yeah. We get so caught up. I think, and there's musicians today that I know of who are playing 4 to 5 gigs a week, and it's easy to get burnt out, and especially when the money becomes the priority, especially when the money becomes a priority is when things start going kind of haywire. Yeah. Right? It's hard to mix passion with business. And there has to be a fine balance between passion and business. It's doable, but it's something Jason J told me was you don't find balance, you maintain balance. You're always maintaining.
You're right. You have to. That's
and I'm sure you can relate to that, right?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I mean, there are times when like people come to the book, right? And they say, hey, we have this budget. And it becomes really difficult. And most of them come from fundraisers. Okay. And to share, and maybe this is a good idea to talk about for folks who are faced with this. I get asked a lot to play for fundraisers. And if I had the ability, I would play for every single fundraiser for free. Unfortunately, here's what I have to deal with. If I have 7 days in the week that I can play a show, and those 7 days are the only days that I can earn money to put food on the table for my family. If I give you one for free, you're literally taking the opportunity for me to feed my family, right? It forfeits an opportunity to make money to feed my family. Right. However, if I don't get booked, I would gladly play for it for free. And that's what I tell people when they ask me if it's a medical fundraiser or whatever. I say, if I don't get booked by the day of the event, if I don't get booked, I will play for it for free. However, if you need a commitment, if you need me to commit to playing, and that's what you're going to use to try and help promote the event, I got to charge, because there's no way that I can say, hey, I'm going to give you just one of my days and literally not have an opportunity to make money and pass up opportunities to make money to have my family. Right? I don't have paid leave. Like, there is no administrative leave that I can get to, feed the family. So that's a lot of the challenge that comes around. So from a business perspective, tying passion to business, there has to be some way to make sure that the hours and the effort you're putting in match what you need to survive. Right. And if you're just single, no kids, and you just have to pay your rent, hey, more power to you. That's the goal you need to reach. Yeah. But as soon as you get married, and as soon as you have 1 child, 2 child, 3 child, 3 children, whatever it may be, you need to factor that in.
Yeah, and that's something I should point out. When I was playing, we there was 5 of us in the band. 2 of them, music was part of their budget. For me, music was not part of my budget. It didn't serve my day to day. It was free money for me.
Entertainment, right?
It was entertainment. It was passion, and I didn't understand that when it came to payment, and when payment wasn't coming in, and it's like, hey man, you gotta ask this person. It's like, oh shit, okay, and
like, gotta pay bills, man.
right, and I didn't understand that as a musician, because I didn't make music as part of my life the way you make it, and the way I know a lot of musicians here on Guam make it. It's their full-time job. And for me, it was my hobby, it was my passion, and so whether I got paid or not, it didn't matter. And I forgot about that when it came to other people in the band. So I mean, I guess when you're playing with other people, it's being mindful of the other people and what their time and what the money means
to them,
right, compared to you.
I mean, it's always going to be a passion and fun, but at the end of the day, if I am away from my wife and my kids, there has to be something that I'm going to bring back to them. And, you know, that ties directly into one of the conversations I had with Peter on touring. I get like 4 to 6 inquiries a year from, you know, a lot of the times they're Chamorro families in the States who have like fiestas or weddings. They're like, hey, how much is it going to cost to fly you out to play? Mm-hmm. And they think that it's really just paying the expenses, like the airfare, the production costs, you know, that maybe like the food or whatever. They think that's all it's paying for. But if I leave for 5 days, that's 5 days that I can't play a gig here. So I have to literally cover the money that I would. Right, I don't have administrative leave again. I don't have any personal leave or anything like that. So I have to cover that plus the expenses. And even at that, there's even more of a sacrifice because like if I play a 3-hour gig here on Guam, my total time investment away from my family, it's like 4 hours, 30 minutes to set up. You play a 3-hour gig, 30 minutes to, you know, break down, and then maybe 4.5 hours because if you consider driving time, right? So one day, 4.5 hours I'm dedicating to go play a gig. If I leave off island, you're taking 24 hours away from my family. So I'm literally only getting compensated for the time that I'm playing out there. Right. So that's the challenge. Like it does come down when you're doing this to support your family. It comes down to a different mindset.
Yeah, man. I was a young, selfish man in my 20s.
No fault to that. We were all that, right?
It's like, dude, this is just fun for me. You know, I love playing music, and I forgot, and I didn't take to mind that this is something that was integrated into how they pay the bills.
And they live their life.
But
you know what?
Put food on the table, support the family.
5 people are going to hear you say that and hear us talking about this on an episode, whether it's this podcast or if it's the Risethetide episode, and they're going to realize that. And 5 musicians are going to be like, hey, I understand that. Look, you have to pay for it. Let's see what we can do to put payment on a timely schedule here. Right. And, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think it's cool how you explain contracts and the importance of contracts. Because us, it was like, yeah, just pay us that much. That's cool. Man. Doesn't matter when the money comes in, you know. And it was a mistake on our part, business wise, because a few of us weren't thinking of the music as a business.
It's fun.
Right.
Yeah. And no fault to that too. No, because it is fun, you know, especially when you're young too, right? I mean, a lot of people too, when I tell them like, they're like, man, you have all these contracts, you know, some musicians like, oh, dude, I had one musician come up to me like kind of jokingly. He was like, oh, you're a professional. You're like, you have a business license and contracts. And I said, I've been doing this 20 years. This is my 21st year. And I was like,
wow.
Eric. And I said to him, I was like, you're 22. Like you're 22 years old. Like I've been doing this this is my 21st year.
You were literally one.
Right. But I also told him, I was like, I was there. Right. You know what I mean? Like I was there. So in essence, I told him, I was like, you have a lot that you have to experience and learn too. Right. And I was there, and I was fortunate though. And this is what a lot of people don't know. The first 12 years of my professional career, I played in the States. And so I was around people who were like, dude, if you're going to do it that way, you're never going to survive. No. You know what I mean? Like people who showed me the ropes. So literally by having that opportunity and then bringing it back home, I was like, I want to share this with people. I had someone who I was getting food at a walk-up window stand. I don't know if you know, it's in Tumon, right by like, you know, across from Hyatt. So I was getting window.
Onigiri.
Yeah, onigiri. Right. So someone drives up, he's like, JoeGuam. I'm like, what's up, dude? And he's like, hey, you don't know me, man, but I'm just kind of like a starting out musician. But it's like, I watch Right Side episodes, and dude, those are really helping me. I was like, thanks, man.
Fuck yeah.
I was like, sure. I was like, holy cow. And I literally told him, I was like, dude, DM me anytime to ask me any questions. Like, you know what the interesting thing is? I get most of the engagement from those videos through DMs. And I'm always wondering, like, why don't you post that as a comment? And I realize Guam is a super small community, and people don't want to be like exposed on the comment. Mm-hmm. You know, they want it to be socially proofed out first. Right. They don't want to be the first commenter.
It's like, I don't want to be that guy that doesn't know it.
Right. Yeah. And because people will be like, hey, I saw you comment on JoeGuam's video. You don't know that, bro.
Yeah. Wow, I can't believe you didn't know what a business license was.
You know what I mean? It's the truth. So I get like a lot of the engagements I get, the questions I get is through DMs. And I invite that. DMs doesn't help like the rating of the algorithm of the video. Like it doesn't help promote it. I don't care. Like if the DM comes in and I can literally answer a question that helps somebody get a gig, oh, that is like through the roof for me. You know what I mean? Like that's why we do this. That's why you do podcasts and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, man. Well, I think we've been going a long time.
Yeah. You want to cut out here?
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
You want to put anything out you like?
Really? So the Rise of Tide, all of that you can find. The easiest ways to find it is JoeGuam.com. So all of the blogs are posted on the website. That will link you to the YouTube channel, which is you just look for JoeGuam on YouTube. It'll also link you to my Instagram, which is @JoeGuam. I also post it on Facebook, which is JoeGuam Music. So you'll find all the Rise of Tide episodes there. If you're interested in the project management side of things, I post the best practice, real practice videos on the same platforms. You can just search for Progressu, but the easiest way to find that is going to be progressu.com. That's spelled Progressu. So progressu.com is the best way you can find those videos. But other than that, if I can help you in any way and it doesn't impede on my abilities or my responsibilities to, support my family, I'm wholeheartedly there. Just please reach out, send me a DM. I mean, I've had some folks send me a DM. They're like, man, I really love this song that you play. Can I have the chords and the lyrics? And I literally, like, in the middle of whatever I'm doing, go into my phone, screenshot it. I'm like, does this work for you? What key do you want it in? I'll change the key if you wanted to, and then, I send it out. I got a tagged on post my original song Magahit. There's
yeah, man, you've been coming out with originals, dude.
Oh man,
ever since we were talking, you're like, yeah, dude, I've been working on some originals, and you're on your like second or third one right now.
Yeah, so we've released 3 originals.
Right, 3. Yeah, that's right.
The last time, right? And I mean, we've released covers too, right? But yeah, I have other originals that I'm coming out with. Yeah, and again, like this last one that I just did in August 30th is a little different. So people are like, no ukulele. I'm like, yeah, this was a little different. Like I wrote that song 10 years ago for my cousin's wedding. So that was kind of his gift. But yeah, so the original Magahit, which I released as a Chamorro song I released in April, someone tagged me on a video. There was a Chamorro cultural dance group in San Antonio. They made a dance to it.
Really?
And I was like, I swear to God, you couldn't see. I got red. I was like goosebumps when I saw it. And I showed my wife. I was like, oh my God, someone made me to dance to this song. So super cool. And then I got tagged on another video from another group. There's like 2 groups that made dances to it.
Man, you're bridging the gap, dude.
Dude, I was like,
and that's the beauty, man. I mean, you're doing it from here, and you're people. I was told people are longing, whether they've been here before, they grew up here and they moved off. People are longing for this place, dude.
Man.
And you're providing that avenue, that conduit. You're that conduit to connecting to this place.
That's an honor. I'm not even kidding you. I don't take that lightly. That's an honor. When I saw that, I got such goosebumps. And all I could think in my head was like, maybe someday I can actually make it to where they are to play it for them while they dance. Like that would be
the ultimate.
I mean, like to play that music. I mean, and I would be standing there playing it, knowing that I'm serving them, giving them the opportunity to dance. And I'm like, that's like one of the ultimate feelings, man. I would love to do that. So if you're listening and you're part of those groups in San Antonio, Texas, I would love to play for you guys someday.
Bring them out already.
Someday I'll make it out there.
Next liberation.
We'll do it. Yeah, someday I'll make it out there. But hey, thank you, man. I appreciate you,
my brother,
for letting me have me. Thank you.
Yeah, dude.
Appreciate it. Matt,
it's been too long since you were on. So it's We shouldn't make it too long again.
Thanks. 201. I'm the person at 200. That's cool, man. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. So.
Yeah, it was a nice break. Took a month off, and I feel good. I still love it.
Yeah, dude. The fire's still there. It shows it. Yeah. You got some awesome microphones too.
Thanks. And I'm excited to see it on your
Rise of Tide. Yeah. It'll be up there, man. I'll probably put in just a little bit of preface. I'll preface it.
Tomato.
Right. Yeah. Context, to give people context. But I hope that it brings more people to realize that you have a ton of content relevant to Guam on the podcast.
Thank you.
So that's
bro.
awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt, for holding it down in the back.
Hopefully I didn't say too many bad words this podcast.
It's all good.
I got excited.
That's good.
Yeah, thank you everybody for listening to another episode. 201 episodes of Master Random, the podcast. And until next time, JoeGuam on the podcast. Peace out.
Cheers.
Hey guys, thanks so much for listening to this episode of the podcast. Special shout out to the sponsors, Budweiser, enjoy responsibly, drink wiser. 2, pay less. 1, go eat organic, get natural products, and be educated. Until next time, peace out.